For topic two, we're going to look at the rules for subtracting integers, and this can be a little weird for students at first, okay? But I encourage you to embrace what I'm going to show you, because if you try to just work these out in your head every time, you can get kind of lost, in the process. So understanding what I'm about to show you is going to be very powerful, so do not discount this, okay? So let's think about some things that we know. So let's do something really basic. Let's say that we have 8 minus 3 equals 5. We know this. We believe this. But what if I told you this is exactly the same thing as 8 plus negative 3? Well, this has kind of come up if we think back to our addition of integers. We sort of had situations like this. I'm sorry, it's night, it's summer, it's hot. I've got my doors open and bugs are flying in at my face. They see the light over my dinner table and they're attracted to it. So sorry about that. Anyway, when we were talking about adding integers, there was a situation where I was like, yeah, you could write this as subtraction, but remember the section here, and we're talking about adding integers. It just so happens when you're talking about integers, you can convert subtraction to addition. And we have it right here. We already know that 8 minus 3 is 5. That's child's play. We can all say that's true. And we also know from our practice with adding integers that if I have 8 and I add negative 3, I'm adding two numbers that have different signs, so I really can just subtract. So 8 minus 3 is 5, and then I ask myself, what do I have more of? Do I have more positive or do I have more negative? I have more positive. So these two things are actually the same. And that is going to become how we're going to approach subtraction. There are definitely going to be subtraction problems that you can just kind of intuitively understand, okay? And you don't necessarily need to convert them to subtraction, but I am begging you, practice converting subtraction to addition, because there are going to be some situations that are a little bit more complicated and harder to wrap your head around. And knowing this rule and understanding that it always works is going to save you a lot of heartache down the road, okay? So yes, there are some of these that are just going to make sense logically. There are others that are a little weird, and understanding this rule is going to be a very powerful thing. So steps to subtract integers. You convert to addition, okay? And the way we convert to addition, I've kind of got it laid out here, but let's really talk about what we did. Notice my first number didn't change. I kept my 8 and 8. But I can't just willy-nilly say, oh, I'm going to turn subtraction into addition. We can't do that. Like, they're not the same thing. So we have to somehow find a way to compensate for changing our operation from subtraction to addition. And the way we do it is we look at the second number. Notice in the first example, I subtracted positive 3. In the second example, I added negative 3. So what we do is you keep the first integer the same, and then you add the opposite of the second integer, and that converts subtraction to addition, okay? So symbolically, if we have a minus b, so a is any integer, b is any integer. If we have a minus b, it is equivalent to a plus the opposite of b. Okay, so you keep the first integer the same, and then you add the opposite of the second integer. Okay, and then once you've done that, you just follow the steps for addition. So remember at the beginning of this worksheet, I was like, hey, if you haven't practiced addition, you need to, because we really just convert subtraction to addition. Okay, now just as a quick reminder, to add two integers with the same sign, we add the numbers and keep the common sign. So if you start with two negatives, you add and keep it negative. If you start with two positives, you add and keep it positive. To add two numbers with different signs, we subtract and keep the sign of the larger absolute value. Okay, so for example 2, it says practice subtracting integers. So we're going to just do some really basic stuff here, and then hopefully let me see if I have it on here. Yeah, in the next example, we'll expand this a little bit. So here we're just going to do really basic stuff so we can understand the process, okay? So we have 12 minus 8. We can all shout out to the sky, hey, 12 minus 8 equals what? 4, okay? We all know that 12 minus 8 equals 4, but right now we're practicing converting this to addition and then following the addition rules. So I would keep my first integer the same. Instead of subtracting positive 8, I would add the opposite. So I'm going to add negative 8. Well, that means I'm adding two numbers with different signs, so I subtract. 12 minus 8 we know is 4, and then I have more positive, so my result really is positive 4. We already knew that, but now we know for sure, okay? Now, 8 minus 12. If you can envision a number line, 8 minus 12 is pretty easy, okay? We have 8 here. We want to go 12 units back. So let's see what that gives us. We have 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And then we have -1, -2, -3, -4. So if I took 8 and I subtract 12, that moves me 12 units to the left on a number line. That puts me at -4. That kind of makes sense. If the temperature was 8 degrees outside and it dropped by 12 degrees, that puts me at -4. But let's talk about this using just the rules. So the first number stays the same. And then instead of subtracting +12, I add the opposite of +12. So I want to add -12. So this has me adding two numbers with different signs. We know that means we subtract. 12 minus 8 is 4, but this time I have only 8 positives. I have 12 negatives. That tells me I have more negative, which puts me at -4. We already knew that using a number line, kind of using logic, but now we've proven it using this rule. We know for sure with 2 examples, well, really 3 examples if you do the one at the top of the video, but we've now used 3 examples where we can prove that this converting subtraction to addition, it really does work, okay? So part C, we have -12 minus 8. Well, think about this. It's -12 degrees outside. The temperature drops 8 more degrees. Where does that put you? Imagine you're a scuba diver or you're just going to do some, what is the, not snorkeling, that one, I don't know. But you're doing something, let's say scuba diving. I think that makes more sense. Anyway, so you're 12 feet below the boat. You drop down 8 more feet. Where are you at in comparison to the boat? Okay, so you can think about these things logically. You can also envision a number line. Let's say we are at -12 right here. We want to subtract 8, so that's going to take us to the left 8 more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's going to be -13, -14, -15, -16, -17, -18, -19, -20. So we're expecting a result of -20 here. We've talked it out. We've used real world applications. We've looked at the number line. We're convinced this is going to be -20. Hopefully you're convinced. I am anyway. Okay. Now let's look at this as far as converting to addition. First number always stays the same. And instead of subtracting +8, I want to add the opposite of +8. So I want to add -8. Well, here we're adding two numbers that have the same sign. So we would take 12 plus 8, which is 20, but we had both numbers as negatives to begin with. So that makes this final sum -20. And that makes sense. We have a pile of negative. We add some more negative on it. We have a whole bunch of negative. Okay. Now let's look at the next one. So next up, we have -8 minus 12. So you can kind of think of this one logically. The temperature is -8 degrees. It drops 12 more degrees. What's the new temperature? You have -$8 in your account. You accidentally spend 12 more. What's the new balance in your account? You're 8 feet below a boat. You drop down 12 more feet below the boat. What is your depth compared to the boat? There's lots of ways to do this. You could also think basic number line. So we're at -8. We want to drop to the left 12 units. So that's going to put us at, let's see, -9, -10, -11, -12, -13, -14, -15, -16, -17, -18, -19. It's going to put you at -20. So we're 12 units to the left of -8. That makes it -20. But let's practice our converting to addition. So first number stays exactly the same. But instead of subtracting +12, I want to add the opposite of +12. So I want to add -12. So we're adding two numbers that have the same sign. We add 8 plus 12 is 20. And because they were both negative to start with, the final sum is also going to be negative. Okay? Two more. All right, part E, we have -8 minus -12. This is the weird stuff. Okay, this is the one where you have to think about very realistically, what happens if you take away a negative? If you take away a negative, it has a positive impact. So generally, you can think about this like with money. If you pay off debt, you're taking away debt, which has a positive impact on your finances. Okay, so if we wanted to do a number line here, we could. Now remember, you want to start with whatever your first number is. So we're going to start at -8. But when you subtract a negative, it tells you to move to the right. So we want to go plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So let's see where that puts us. That's -7, -6, -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're expecting an answer of 4. Let's see what happens when we convert to addition. Well, the first number stays the same, but instead of subtracting a negative, I want to add the opposite. So I want to add the opposite of -12. The opposite of -12 is +12. So here I'm adding two numbers with different signs that tells me to subtract. 12 minus 8 is 4, but is my final answer going to be positive or negative? Well, I have 8 negatives, but I have 12 positives. I have more positives. That tells me my final answer is +4. Okay? One more for this example. We have 12 minus -8. So we can think about this on a number line. We start at 12, and remember, when you subtract a negative, it has a positive impact. You want to move to the right. So we want to move to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, that puts me at 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So let's see if we get 20 by using the rules for subtraction. First number stays the same. Instead of subtracting -8, we want to add the opposite of -8. So we want to add +8. Well, 12 plus 8 is just 20. They're both positive, so the final answer is going to stay positive. So there you have it. Hopefully I have proven to you that converting subtraction of integers to addition of integers is legal, it works, and it's going to be something that can save you in some sticky situations. So there are some of these that are just very logical. You can just think about them and you can understand, hey, I'm going to subtract, hey, I'm going to add, hey, I'm going to have a negative, hey, I'm going to have a positive, whatever. But there are some of them that can get a little weird. So make sure you practice this and know how to use this so that it's there if you need it in a pinch. Okay? I think this video has gone on a little long, so even though this is part of the same topic, I think I'm going to stop this video here and we'll make a topic 2 part 2.